2022, Discovery Inc. and Warner Media merged in the latest media merger in the consolidation wars, becoming Warner Brothers Discovery with David Zaslav as CEO. With the DC Extended Universe having long struggled against the far more successful Marvel Cinematic Universe, this latest merger gave Zaslav a chance to restart the DCEU clock. In November 2022, it was announced that DCEU would be phased out in favor of a new DC Universe created by DC Studios, and that the DCEU's most successful production pair, James Gunn and Peter Safran, would be co-CEOs of this new company. After first joining Lloyd Kaufman's Troma Entertainment in the mid-1990s as a screenwriter of Romeo and Juliet, then becoming the director of his feature horror comedy Slither in 2006, James Gunn became famous for directing the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Fighting? That's not fair! Take it easy!
Starting with the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 in 2014, James Gunn had already developed what would become his signature style, combining an absurdist and irreverent sense of humor, love of making eclectic in-movie playlists, often 70s and 80s classic rock, especially glam rock, and more contemporary indie rock and pop combined in his films, and heavy world building that would bring a ton of interesting characters, especially aliens. In 2021, he brought that style to a struggling DC Extended Universe, which had been suffering under the weight of directors like Zack Snyder and David Ayer. Ayer's 2016 Suicide Squad was a critical commercial failure. The most lasting thing about it was the knowledge that Jared Leto had sent the cast dead rats and used condoms, as he tried to put his own insufferable mark on the Joker. James Gunn wrote and directed, and Peter Safran produced The Suicide Squad, which took the premise from the DC Comics that a team of supervillains with self-destruction buttons were given a chance to redeem themselves working for Task Force X.
Any questions?
What is that?
That is an overhead projector.
Do you ever use it anymore?
No, not really.
So why don't you just throw it away?
Peacemaker.
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
The Suicide Squad was a critical and commercial success and introduced John Cena's Peacemaker, a character Gunn and Safran developed into a spin-off show in 2022. As a successful team, Gunn and Safran have officially launched the DC Universe, with the first movie directed and written by James Gunn and produced by Peter Safran, Superman. Night we're covering the new Superman movie, first superhero comic. That was a short run of Hugo Hercules, the Boy Wonder in 1902. The first more modern superhero comics, the way we think about them, debuted in 1936 with The Phantom, and then 1938 with Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's 1938 Action Comics #1, which debuted Superman for the first time. Action Comics was published by the company Detective Comics, which after debuting Superman in 1938 would debut Batman in 1939. Detective Comics would famously be shortened later on to the initials DC. In 1948, Superman would become a 15-part serial from Columbia Pictures, starring Kirk Allen, and then a second serial, Atom Man vs. Superman, in 1950. In 1978, the first big-budget, adult-oriented superhero movie from DC, Richard Donner's Superman, starring Christopher Reeve, would become a huge commercial and critical success. With a crazy good cast, Marlon Brando as Superman's birth father, Jor-El, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, and Ned Beatty as his hapless sidekick, and Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, and a screenplay written by The Godfather's Mario Puzo and Bonnie and Clyde's David and Leslie Newman.
You really shouldn't smoke, Miss Lane.
Don't tell me lung cancer, right?
Well, not yet, thank goodness.
And starting a trend coming at a very dark time in American history, the worst ebb of the Jimmy Carter administration, following huge scandals starting with Watergate at a time of real cynicism, with Christopher Reeve's Superman as a man out of time fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. Christopher Reeve would go on to do 4 Superman films. Further attempts to reboot Superman in 2006, then with Henry Cavill taking on the character in Man of Steel, then Batman vs. Superman, and the Justice League, did not meet with the success of the 1978 Superman at all. So it makes perfect sense that in searching for a reboot of the entire DC universe, James Gunn would start here. And with critical acclaim so far and resounding box office success, Superman has flown into theaters. You like that? No, me neither. Superman is played by David Corenswet. One of many Ryan Murphy discoveries we've seen crossover into movies recently. With lead roles in Ryan Murphy's The Politician and Hollywood, Corenswet was cast in the 2022 Ty West follow-up to X, Pearl, where he played an extremely pretentious projectionist who gets killed with a pitchfork.
I'm not staying on this farm! Someone's gonna drive me here!
He looks like a man from a different time, with classic Hollywood good looks. And since he hasn't been in very many things, there isn't a role he's specifically identified with yet. That's unlike his co-star, Rachel Brosnahan, who's here as Lois Lane and who starred for 5 seasons as the lead in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
All right, but did I mention that he left me for his secretary? She's 21 and dumb as a Brillo pad. And I'm not naive. I know that men like stupid girls, right? But I thought Joel wanted more than stupid. I thought he wanted spontaneity and wit. I thought he wanted to be challenged. You know what I mean? You two are gonna be together forever. I'll tell you this one.
Superman also stars Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, Nathan Fillion as the Green Lantern, Skylar Gisondo, Eddie Gathegi, Bradley Cooper, Sarah Sampao, Wendell Pierce, and Zlatko Burick from Triangle of Sadness. James Gunn brings his signature style to this one, but I think more than anything else, it works because he truly understands the moral logic of Superman's universe. Bringing Superman as a character into his absurdist satirical version of our world, where politics is all about managed public perception, which can flip on a dime, James Gunn understands that Superman at his core is not built for that reality. Hoult's comically theatrical version of an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, who doesn't deign to fight hand-to-hand but uses technology, public opinion, cable news, all of these modern weapons to wear down the public's vision of Superman as a figure who's here to save us from evil. Instead, casting him as a foreign alien who's come to Earth to enslave and control us. Lex Luthor is a villain for the 21st century, one constantly mediated by screens and social media. The moral logic has Superman deeply caring about each life, human and animal. One act of violent assassination in front of Superman by Lex Luthor hurts him deeply, and it's not even someone he knows well. Gunn also shows us the amorality of a world governed by national interests and laws, using a combination of the current Israel-Gaza conflict and Russia-Ukraine war with the backdrop of the invasion of Jarenpur, a clearly impoverished country of mostly brown people, by the neighboring Boravia, a country that's much whiter. Boravia is an ally of the United States, and Lex Luthor is armed their dictator, who seems to definitely be a combination of like Netanyahu and Putin, Vasil Gurkos. James Gunn uses this plot backdrop to make a point about the morality of law when your allies are clearly doing evil versus humanity, with Superman wanting to save every life in Jarenpur. Superman's love of humanity across borders and territories is used against him by Lex Luthor, as is the distrust of Superman as a literal alien, where love and respect can quickly become fear in the court of public opinion, where Superman's intentions and status as a foreigner on Earth can be quickly weaponized against him. It's clearly going to be a controversial film in a politically polarized time. Superman is essentially an immigrant seeking asylum on Earth after his planet is destroyed. Superman also has a dog in this one, Crypto, that belongs to his cousin Supergirl. Shout out to Crypto. To the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat, which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, in which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. We are live right now on This Space for the first time. If you aren't following them, join This Space TV on YouTube. Link below. Conan Neutron is the co-host and senior producer for Movie Night Extravaganza, host of Protonic Reversal, an independent Film Critics of America film critic, and the frontman for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Check out his music at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, a streamer on Twitch, twitch.tv/cosmopolitics, a host at This Space, hosting Kristina's Corner, and is across social media at Cosmopolitics and on Letterboxd at Christina. Alex makes reviews and reactions and is on YouTube and Twitch at Devil's Advocate Productions and is a part of This Space. I, of course, am your host, who is super woke, Forrest Miller. I need to hear you say it. Bravia has a right to exist.
There it is. There it is, everybody. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Alex. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much. I usually don't have this bare face. I just went to see
Get him out of here.
Live at Madison Square Garden on Saturday, so I had to do it in honor of the man.
Yeah.
But I am here to talk Superman. I got my Green Lantern hat, my Superman shirt, my ring.
I love that you came correct. You're wearing you're a man of the cloth, or at least a man of the hat. I don't know.
Dude, that's my favorite joke in the entire movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Just going. We're both men of the cloth.
Yeah. So first of all, before we just dive right into it, once again, welcome to all of This Space viewers and listeners. It's this Movie Night Extravaganza. We've been doing the show for 4 years now, so it's great to be on your simulcasting.
This is my fourth appearance tonight.
All right, stop. All right, enough. Your trophy's in the mail, kid. All right. Yeah. So Nathan Fillion, first of all, he insisted that Guy Gardner have the bowl cut, which is amazing because it's like one of comic books' great bad haircuts.
Yeah.
And the fact that he insisted on it, I was like, all right, this guy gets it. This guy completely gets it. And he also, I gotta say, as far as laugh lines go, he's got them all in this one. Like his character is just ruling.
I mean, I'm surprised how big Mr. Terrific was getting laughs in the theater that I saw it in. He was great. He's still
like a C-lister at best. Within the DC universe. But what I like about James Gunn, and he proved this with Guardians of the Galaxy, who absolutely were C-list characters, that he can find the humanity and the heart and the feeling behind characters that nobody knows or cares about, which is kind of cooler when you're dealing with a universe that people know, but not necessarily the characters.
So, Conan, are you saying that James Gunn's core theme is about family, like Fast and the Furious?
It's basically Fast and the Furious with superheroes. Yes. No, but I mean, I think that's important to know because Superman is like one of the most iconic characters in fiction, not even just comic books, but in fiction, right? So to have a large ensemble that goes beyond Lois Lane, great. We're going to get into that. Jimmy Olsen, also great. Going to get into that. Perry White, the fella from The Wire who rules, great. Like everybody, the casting of this is just absolutely amazing. But to have the Justice Gang, sorry, spoiler everybody, it's a repeated bit. It's the Justice Gang and Nathan Fillion, his character.
That's the name.
Yeah. He really wants it to be that name and doesn't want to add other people on unless he has the votes, which is hilarious to me. And of course, this is a precursor to the Justice League, right?
Yeah.
But
you get in the Hall of Justice, there's a mural that has the Justice Society on there.
Right.
So I'm like, they're establishing them. They already existed. They're gone. This is kind of like empty building not being used, so they're just hanging out in there. I like
so
that.
You hit on something that's kind of important, which is the fact that there's a lot of things in here for the deep comic book nerds. But you don't need to have this. You don't need to have the CV of knowing like all of the. Well, that's from All-Star Superman, and this one is from. We get it. Like you don't need any of that to dive into it because you're like, oh, this guy with the bowl cut's a real piece of work, isn't he? Yeah. And it's like, no, that's your introduction to the best Green Lantern thus far depicted on film. Sorry, Reynolds. Go ahead, Kristina.
Well, also too, another thing is that there's no origin story for him. It's like a little title card in the beginning, like, okay, this is what's happened, this is who he is, and all that, and this is where he is now in his life. And I'm like, that's good because we've seen the Superman origin story played over and over and over again. So it's like something that we already, know. It's like what James Gunn said. Like, do we really need to see Batman as a Bruce Wayne seeing his parents get killed again?
Yeah.
No, we don't.
It really it throws you right. I mean, I liked that it throws you right into the middle of the action, and it's not like I mean,
it sums up
literally
everything in
in
like
the
the
middle.
first 40 seconds with like, all right,
Yeah.
here's the deal. He like did this, did that, like blah. He's like the most powerful person on earth, and he's got his ass
With
kicked.
threes. I like
Yeah.
Which is
300 years ago, metahumans emerged. 3 decades ago, a rocket crashed in Kansas. 3 weeks ago, he stopped the war. 3 days ago, this.
and then it didn't take 3
3
hours ago. Got his
minutes
ass
ago.
kicked or something.
Yeah. So
right. Which is so good because that's a perfect example of like that James Gunn, rule of 3 kind of thing where you and God, because that's the thing I was like, they're not going to redo the origin, are they? I really hope they don't redo the origin because when we've talked about other movies, I've talked about like why does every Spider-Man movie have to retell the origin? Like it's like why is he always in high school? Canonically, like in the comic books, he was not in high school that long, and almost every movie is like, all right, well he's finally out of high school at least. Well, thank goodness.
Yeah.
It's so relieving to have a movie that just trusts the audience to be like, yeah, we know who the hell Superman is.
Yeah.
He's goddamn Superman.
We get it.
I will say since you brought up since you brought up all the Spider-Man movies though, I felt like this version of Metropolis felt very lived in the same way like Sam Raimi's New York feels very lived in. And within like they're flying through the buildings and like you're seeing everything kind of in the city and there's all these people in the city. It's like a very it's clearly like New York, but it's like a very multiracial, like you have like Muslim guys that are like, yo, Superman, like, you know what I mean? Like
More about that later.
and like adding all those characters in that are just kind of there and like everyone's kind of reacting to everything and everyone has the NPC thing where if a giant monster comes, they just go and they look up at it, which like, come on, dude, get inside. Get inside.
But as someone that tours more or less for a living, if you can call it that, to see people rubberneck for like these horrific accents, like, come on, man, we look, let's go. We got places to be. It's very real.
I felt like it was. I felt like it was very. Yeah.
They're not that bothered. Yeah, no, I think it's
felt like it felt like the Sam Raimi like
save the day.
Spider-Man, like Spider-Man New York City. Like it felt like you were, and especially like they had like kind of the dirty buildings and like the like it's a very lived-in city, and I appreciated that. I was like, I feel like I'm watching like Spider-Man a little bit, also because of the flying shots where you're kind of going from building to building too.
Great.
Yeah.
The flying, like that tagline for Christopher Reeve's Superman was, "You believe a man can fly." In this movie, you will believe how fast he can go. I love. There's a moment. I think he's going to check on Crypto at the fortress and realizes he's not there, but he's going there super duper fast, and you see like it cycle through like day and night and rain and like different weather conditions across the globe that he's speeding through, and we're just holding on his face. Great way to show.
It's amazing, and I'm so glad he doesn't turn back time like in that one regrettable scene. In that
Wait,
come on,
what movie?
Man. No movie that exists. Never mind. Forget I said.
The other thing that I really appreciated about this, and I think this is a James Gunn thing very specifically, but I really liked that. Number one, he cares clearly about every human life and every animal life. But like the animal life, I think definitely comes from James Gunn being like a huge animal guy. But like the fact is, even squirrels, like he's not gonna let a squirrel get crushed by the thing. And there's just there's this deep upsetting feeling. Like even when the monster gets killed, they set the monster out to Kujai or whatever, like one of those things. Like they set that out to destroy everything in the city. Like they just they send one of those out to destroy everything in the city, and he's even bummed out that like they had to kill that monster. They didn't just like.
He goes, "Hey, can we put this in an intergalactic zoo and just like subdue it?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Ooh, the zoo! Maybe that's where he's gonna get the idea to do it in the fortress."
So two things. First, I'd like to highlight this comment that he did indeed turn back time, and we are not going to speak about it. But that was a plot contrivance that is like
turn back time.
Exactly. Cher was on.
Way.
Cher was on the scene. But again, our man saves squirrels in the flick, right? That tells you everything you know about this Superman, which is the deep humanity that comes from this non-human who has made the choice to be good. Which again, to say that, I mean, it's low-hanging fruit to be like that the Snyder Superman did not exhibit these traits, but we haven't seen anyone exhibit these traits
Yeah.
in cinema in years, because everything went to this post-ironic thing. If you see a superpowered character, you see something like the Sentry, which is great in Thunderbolts, or you see someone like Homelander, which is great, but only because it's in reaction towards Superman, who is like the best of us.
Yeah.
And we've never had a depiction, other than the original Donner Christopher Reeves movie, of that Superman. And generationally, we haven't had a depiction of that at all.
Yeah.
At least within the blockbuster movie format, I should say.
Well, and comparing that to Lex Luthor, and not to like invoke, all the worst people in the world, but Lex Luthor does have that same trait as literally all the worst people in the world, which
number one hater.
He despises his own humanity. He despises all of our humanities. Humanity to him is a weakness, and to Superman, he has all the powers in the world, but humanity is something at his core that he feels deeply, like deep inside, this empathy that kind of flows out of empathy as its own superpower almost. Whereas Lex Luthor is someone who sees empathy as weakness, who sees our body, like our physical bodies, as weakness, whereas Superman saves people's physical body. Like there's that dichotomy that we're experiencing right now, where we don't have a Superman, but it can feel like the character of Superman is always meant to be an inspirational figure,
because it's a call to action. It's a call to action to your better nature and to empathy and humanity, right? And that's something that. It's when you have the other depictions more recently, you're almost like, I thought you were raised by these like Kansas farmers. Like that, what happened to that? You're killing dudes now? What's going on?
No.
And it misses what's important about the character. And we could do a big digression on Superman versus Batman, because as a younger man, I was way more into Batman, and I do think Batman is cool, but it was brought up to me by somebody who was very, very astute about these things, that Superman chooses to be good. He could do anything, and he chooses to be good. He chooses to be, as the saying goes, be the change you want to see, right? Mm-hmm. And he actually cares. Like, so the squirrel scene and like I don't want the monster to get killed, those scenes, they're so important.
There's this tweet by Mia Khalifa that was going into the differences between Batman and Superman, and went deep into the difference between that empathy and the humanity and Batman's technological event. And then someone was like, "Wow, Mia Khalifa, you follow the comics too?"
Oh yeah.
I wanted to point out that I'm reading a Wonder Woman book, and she talks about Superman.
Hello, no.
It's written by Tom King, so it's written much better than that. And she kind of gives her perspective and says they're brothers. They're much more similar than they both think. Really, just Cal had his parents and Bruce didn't. And I have a lot. I read comics, but my Superman Batman books. There's a lot of good they're about both those characters, so they do a lot of contrasting. Even in their inner monologues, in certain scenes, they'll both be reacting to the same thing, and you see how they think very similarly but slightly different. It's a very interesting read. Highly recommend those by Jeff Loeb.
So we have a comment. I'm sure we'll get into this later, but I'm curious, Conan, how you felt about with Hope being punk rock. Me personally, I felt like it was the embodiment of Hope punk, and I loved it.
Yeah, that was
great. Yeah. From a concept, and when I think of punk rock as less of a genre and more of the DIY aesthetic and the relentless critical thinking with empathy to be like the punk rock ethos. Absolutely nailed it. Divorced of genre because I didn't like the last song even a little bit. Even though it had Iggy Pop as a guest, I'm like, this may be the only thing keeping this from being 5 stars for me, because that
last song was this sounds from. First of all, my fiance is very much into punk, so that hit particularly well for her, and also not coming into it, not watching any Superman movies or Superman media. Not really
okay.
She loved it. She cried. She laughed. It was fantastic. And
I'm also a musician. Of course, I'm gonna have strong opinions about literally everything.
It was great.
Right?
It was great. And
I still think Barbie is amazing, even though most of the needle drops miss me entirely. It's fine. I get
Superman,
what the joy that people get out of it is joy that I get. Superman, Miss Male Barbie. Yes, sure, okay.
And he is. Sure. And
Barbie and Superman definitely party together in the action figure circle.
Oh yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
that last song.
I'm sure they play together.
That last song, I was like, this sounds familiar. And now I was watching a Kevin Smith review. I watched everybody's reviews. And I was like, that last song, why does it sound so familiar? And I looked it up. There's a cover of it called Hip Hopper. The song is called Punk Rocker. The song called Hip Hopper, and that song is in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That's why I know that song.
Okay. It's good. It's fine. I mean, like, look.
No, I wasn't.
If you cater to my personal music sensibilities, like, it will never be a hit. I swear. You know, it's just what it is. So Tom King, of course, there's a Superman Up in the Sky with Andy Kubert. And this is real deep nerdery, by the way.
No, I got a whole bunch of stack of books here I'm going to recommend.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's one of the good, like, let's bring Superman back to, like, let's show why this character is, you know, the best of us, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I did not know that Tom King used to be a CIA agent.
Yeah,
so,
he was in the CIA. He was in Afghanistan and Iraq. There's a book called Omega Men, which I recommend everyone read, that is very much like, it reads like he was over there and realized that the people he was sent to fight were actually freedom fighters. That's that book.
That's pretty powerful. I mean, that's cool.
He also wrote, here's my comic book plug segment. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Oh, Woman of Tomorrow, which is what they're basing the Millie Babcock plot on, the Supergirl movie, which is crazy because it's like not Supergirl's almost a supporting character. Like, it's a crazy story, but it's really good.
So you've read it. Okay, great.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's really good.
She shows up at the end in the trench coat, drunk. I'm like, she's going to literally walk out of this movie right into this book.
Yes.
Where's my dog at? Crypto, though, I mean, he's the goodest boy, you know. Like, a lot of people, like, that sold a lot of people is seeing Crypto. Like, a lot of people are like,
good
why?
doggo representation.
But then everyone else was like, oh my god, he's so cute, he's so, you know. And again, more people are wanting to adopt dogs.
Yeah, it jumped up by 500%. 500% more people this week wanted to adopt dogs, according to, like, you know, like the national whatever thing of animal shelters, because they saw this movie.
Well, it's like when Flo, which is incredible, and I wish we covered it. It was when Flo kind of was a surprise hit that, like, black cat adoption, like, finally went up for the first time, like, in history, ever, because people were like, I want a cat like the cat from Flo.
It's like an animated.
It's it's the best. First of all, the Oscars agree, best animated movie of last year. But there's this animal, like, meows, grunts, capybara squeals. Like, there's no spoken language in the entire thing. It's incredible. It's really and it's an indie. That's the other thing. Is it went up against Pixar, it went up against Disney, went up against, like, all the big boys, and it was a surprise win.
No, I do remember that from the Oscars.
It's crazy though. The only cats I've, like, you know, like, I love my ex cat. Like, it was always black cats. Like, I like black cats are, like, my favorite of the bunch.
Well, because they're the most likely to not be adopted, and in the same way that, like, an not ill-tempered, but a dog that is chosen. Right? A dog that is chosen chaos will be the last one to be picked, and that is definitely what Crypto.
A lot of people are always, like, trying to get, like, pit bulls banned because they're like, oh, those are, like, the black people dogs, and it's like, number one, that's racist as fuck.
Wow.
Like, no, it's like an online, like, dog whistle when people are. So to
speak.
I guess.
Right,
but,
sure. Okay.
But like, people now look at them as, like, the dog fighting dogs, and then they think about that as, like, a hood thing or whatever, and it's like a lot of pit bulls are, like, the sweetest dogs you'll ever meet. But
it's how you raise them and train them and all that. Wow. I mean, I know people who have Chihuahuas, you know, ankle biters. They are sweet, playful, gentle. I am. Yeah.
But I think that also that's notable that he is imperfect, Crypto, right? Like, he's like, he is a little bit too rowdy, and that ends up being turned into pure James Gunn tradition of storytelling. That gets turned into an advantage rather than being like, oh, we're going to laugh at this character. It's like, no, like, this character saves the day by choosing chaos, basically.
And Eve also saves the day too with their selfies.
Eve Teschmacher from fucking 78 Superman is in this movie. It is, and so is Otis.
And there's a lot of discourse about how, that's a misogynist portrayal, this and that. I'm like, okay, first of all, like, did you only watch, like, those segments, like absent and without any denouement, thank you. Or did you did you deal with like any other part of the movie? Because first of all, and I really hope we get into it. Rachel is the best Lois Lane in my opinion. I've seen them all.
Yeah, she wears purple
by far. She's freaking amazing. Like you believe that Rachel Brosnan's Lois Lane won goddamn multiple Pulitzer prizes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You believe it, whereas you know maybe less so Kate Bosworth. I don't know.
And even when she's interviewing, Clark as Superman, she's doing her journalism. She's giving like Hasbro like talking points to him, and he's getting angry. David even said that he's going to fuck you at her during one take, and I'm like, why wasn't that still in the movie? That would have been great.
Well, and she like busts Clark's chops, like she's calling him Smallville, and it's like okay, when the super pretty girl who you totally respect, who is like your sort of also chief rival, is like busting chops on that, you're gonna do everything you can to ditch the Smallville accent. You know what I mean? Like that's a very real thing, and it's so funny that like that all is done in the background so efficiently and so effectively. So getting back to Eve, like. Character's great. Like people say it's misogynistic. Like, come on. Like stop trying to find things to pick apart.
She's an
influencer,
it's so stupid. And she's in my review on my channel, I refer to her as a dumb bimbo because that is the character that she is playing. She's since 78, that's her character. But at least in this movie, she comes in clutch. She actually has a little bit more.
She's literally like while they're able to like save the day.
Yeah, she's like taking selfies in front of like she live streams everything. I'm like, wow, story of my life.
Wait, but before
I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to come in clutch because in the beginning when they're in Antarctica and she's doing like selfies, I'm like, Lex isn't on top of this. Lex isn't like worried about her taking pictures
leaking
and
stuff.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like
I
knew that was going to come in.
Before we move too far from Crypto, I wanted to read the James Gunn. Crypto arrives on screens at Superman this summer. Crypto was inspired by our dog Ozu, who we adopted shortly before I started writing Superman.
I love that.
Ozu came from a hoarding situation in the backyard with 60 other dogs and never knew human beings. It was problematic to say the least. He immediately came in, destroyed our home, our shoes, our furniture, even ate my laptop. It took a long time before he'd even let us touch him. I remember thinking, gosh, how difficult would it be if Ozu had superpowers?
Yeah.
That's
adorable.
Fantastic. I love everything about that. Yeah. And I love this representation for like, the imperfect vessel of like the mutt. Great. Yeah. That's so wonderful. And it's such a great character. And when I heard, I was like, oh, Crypto's really present in this. I was like, I hope you do. First of all, I hope you don't mean cryptocurrency. Secondly, like, all right, we'll see how that pans out.
Do we think that this is going to get Marvel, Kevin Feige to wake up and be like, we actually finally have serious competition. We're not going to produce slop.
I think that's why Fantastic Four has been like
as Crypto now.
I mean, they got Herbie, so we'll see.
Right, because they're doing the '60s Fantastic Four, so they get to be like have a little more. Well, and that's.
But I think that's why they're pushing it so much is because like we really took our time on Fantastic Four. Yeah. If you haven't liked some of the other movies or some of the other TV shows that we had,
we're finally giving you a good Fantastic Four movie.
This one's going to bring it back.
Like they had something amazing with Ant-Man, and they absolutely destroyed it and ruined it with the third one by like, hey, let's take everything that made these movies interesting or cool and like not do that.
Yeah.
Wait, by the way, line, he might not be the best dog, but he must be alone and scared.
Beautiful line.
Again,
this like
that was the line that got him crying. Like that was the line, one of the lines that got my girl crying. Like, and that's so Superman.
It's the most empathic representation,
dog, but he's alone and scared, and I should do something about that. Like, come on, folks.
Yeah, like trying to like the little scaremonger kaiju, like let's put him in a like alien music.
I
almost said alien ant farm. That is not what I meant. An alien.
Are you okay?
Zoo or something.
I will say though, Marvel, talking about essentially when there was that witch hunt with anti-Trumpers, they really screwed up by firing James Gunn initially, so he could work on the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and Warner Brothers was like, "We'll hire you right now. We don't give a shit."
Yeah. And see like the monkeys in the Ice Pocket universe all like hate tweeting on X.
I love that. Yeah. Oh yeah, James. All right, I see you.
I'm like, I know who that's supposed to be.
Superman gets canceled in this movie, and has a redemption.
And I think a lot of people forget about that, but that was such a big deal that like people uncovered all the stuff he did for Trauma and all like the Edgelord stuff, and it was at the peak of, I hate to put it, but like the witch trials of just like mass movement where it almost didn't matter what the details were.
No, it was revenge. It was revenge for Roseanne. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Roseanne
he said
fired for saying a racist tweet.
Gone, Roseanne gone. We'll call this the day of hygiene. I was looking up on that's the tweet, and then it says, "Is the right sure that?" Or something like that. There was like a bunch of Roseanne tweets that he wrote, and then he was making fun of Roseanne, and then they were like, "We're gonna take somebody from the left."
Yeah,
right. Well, exactly. It's a tit for tat.
Exactly.
And then, it's a quid pro quo.
Shout out Dave Bautista for being like, "Hey man, I'm not going to be in this movie if Gunn isn't directing it."
Yeah, that's why they did the Guardians 3 and also 2, because this was after they had done the holiday special or something, or they brought him back for that too, I think.
They brought him back for 3 in the holiday special.
I mean,
and then he was
I've always been a James Gunn fan. Like, I will say this is the same guy who wrote Scooby-Doo and Superman. That's a compliment. Okay, that's a compliment.
Tromeo and Juliet's not that great of a movie, but it's funny.
I haven't watched
it. You can skip it.
I want to watch
not that
Super. That's the one I want to watch. I still haven't watched Super, but I'm interested.
There's been a lot of corollaries for this one to the original Superman, the Richard Donner Superman, which is something roundabout a way of saying that I'm going to highlight this other super chat here, saying Christopher Reeve came to Chile during the dictatorship to show support for persecuted actors.
It's the real Superman.
Yeah. It was real Superman.
That's why people always, when they think of who set the standard for Superman, they always say Christopher Reeve.
An anecdote is that the son of theater director and actor where he was staying found out that Superman was staying in his house and kind of freaked out. Understandable. Because superhero movies, and here's the thing, folks, especially the younger viewers and listeners, there was a time that superhero movies were not ubiquitous. They were also considered impossible to make except for Christopher Reeve as Superman, not just like Superman, but Christopher Reeve specifically as Superman, and Tim Burton and Michael Keaton as Batman. It was like you could not make a superhero movie other than those two wild exceptions.
Yeah,
and it's crazy to think about. But this goes back to when Sam Raimi made the original Spider-Man. It was like, oh my God, really? Yeah. And they're gonna let the guy from Evil Dead 2 make it? Amazing, right? And now that's like commonplace, but you have to understand culturally it was huge, especially for like us nerds, where we're like, oh my, wow, that might be good.
Earlier you brought up the like post-ironic kind of poking fun at, even in superhero movies, poking fun at the fact that they are superheroes or the names and shit. Like X-Men was really the one that set that standard, because that was right after Blade. Blade, they didn't advertise that it was superhero at all or comic book related at all, even though that was a run in the 90s of like The Mask, Spawn, several other like comic book Steel movie. That you know,
Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yeah,
Blade fucking worked. So then they said, ooh, maybe we can do X-Men, but we'll cover them all in black like the Matrix, and we'll make a joke about, oh, you wouldn't want to wear yellow spandex, would you? So we're going to...
And as we talked about that when we did Deadpool Wolverine, we talked about that, Kristina. Remember, we were talking about how like having Blade and having Wesley Snipes as Blade coming back was like a meta reference within a meta reference within a meta reference.
Yep.
And take of that what you will. I understand some people don't like that. Go to hell. I don't care.
Spider-Man comes out, and he's got comic book accurate costume. Green Goblin looks like a Power Ranger, but he looks like a Green Goblin on a glider.
Right.
He's throwing pumpkin bombs. Like, it's closer. Every movie they got closer and closer till now. They're just like, you know what? Here's Superman. He's getting his ass kicked. He's right in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
Well, you're picking up a comic. You don't know what happened in the previous book. Here you go. Here's a story. Here's Green Lantern. Here's Hawk.
I mean, they had from the beginning of, I remember seeing like even like Iron Man as a kid, right? The humor in those movies was like not good. Like they would cut to something and it would be really serious, and then they'd be like, well, that happened. And it took until they got better like actual directors that do comedy. Like, I mean, James Gunn comes out of that world. And I mean, like like Thor Ragnarok is a movie that like, has actual like comedy writers on, like, so it took until they actually could, hire people that like Taika Waititi and like
and establish more of the universe itself.
Who understand comedy and understand that type of
and
thing.
understand
Yeah.
the books too, and how these characters have lasted this long, and why people are still interested in these stories.
So actually, you hit on something really important because I mean, I think one of the keys for this movie is like it is not super serious in the way that those Snyder movies are, where it's like, God damn, this is like annoying to watch because it's so.
I need a flashlight.
It's pretentiously. Yeah, first of all, you can't see it. Secondly, it's pretentiously self-serious. Whereas this is the other way around. This is like basically Silver Age Superman, but like with a modern comedic sensibility, and it completely works. Everything about it works.
The only criticism I have, one of the few, is that it still falls into the trap of undercutting serious emotional moments with comedy. Not as bad as other movies or series, but
Welcome to blockbuster movies. Sorry, son.
I know, but specifically like the scene where they're in the apartment, and he says the line about like the crypto is he's scared and he's probably alone, and I gotta go help him. Like that whole scene is pretty heavy. He just learned this big twist about his parents' message to him from Krypton, and
Bradley
that's
Cooper
a big
is his
change
dad?
that I also up against. Yeah, I was like, Bradley Cooper. Okay, it's
I was like,
really
wait.
Who was in the running to play Lex Luthor, by the way? So we dodged both there.
really?
Well, he also James Gunn. Every movie he's had. I mean, 'cause, you know, Bradley Cooper is the voice of the raccoon and
Rocket.
all the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he also was in. He's been in every. He's been in. And
His name is Rocket Forrest. Please.
Yeah,
Yes.
Rocky Raccoon. I almost said Rocky Raccoon, and I stopped myself.
Yeah.
But and he was also in the Suicide Squad. He was like, you know, he was one of the voices in that or whatever. And
Yeah,
cool.
he's good.
But in that scene, you know, it's a heavy scene, and in the background is the Justice Gang fighting Mr. and Mrs. Spitalik, by the way. He refers to him, he's like, oh, that's a dimensional imp, they can handle it. I'm like, oh my God, I know who that is.
And which is another just like, hey,
It's a
this one's for the
throwaway
nerds.
joke.
But it's literally in the background. Yeah.
Put it in that scene because like it's heavy. Let us breathe in this emotional depth without having Green Lantern have a giant bat in the background.
I understand, and I see what you're saying, but I also think if you really go back and look at Silver Age comics, that kind of stuff is happening all the time.
Oh no,
You
no,
have
I
these,
don't
you know-
disagree. I'm just saying, just in that scene, I wish it let it breathe a little. I would be happy to have him throw that line away in the beginning of the scene, but having it in the background,
You think it undercut it a little bit? Sure, I get
just
it.
a little.
I mean, the other thing that I've seen that I think I kind of agree with the criticism is with the criticism and the turn that happens on Superman kind of happens fast, and I don't think that there was necessarily a way with everything that was stuffed in this movie to flesh that out a little bit, because in the beginning they kind of reference that people are already turning on Superman at the beginning of this.
Like a 20-minute setup for it. I mean, like this is the world we live in. It doesn't matter like who you are.
Yeah.
At any moment in time.
But also,
you know.
I just wish they
haterade
had-
spreads like wildfire, though.
I wish they had spent a little bit more time. I wish they had spent a little bit more time kind of crafting the world around that, where it's like everybody turns on Superman in that moment, right?
Yeah,
like
but then Conan would complain about the movie being over 2 hours long.
Definitely. First of all, I definitely would, and I would be correct for complaining about it.
I literally just got finished watching Kevin Smith's review, but I've heard it mentioned in others. Using the Jor-El and Lara, like actually the rest of the message is go conquer Earth and have a harem and shit. Was it worth it to like drastically change who Jor and Lara are as people? I don't know, because
I mean, but
again,
they could
the
back
turn is so
later.
quick. People are already kind of turning on him. You could have just had Lex go on the Tucker Carlson show effectively with Michael Ian Black. And
you could
say,
also find out later that was like fake news.
That was doctored, and that's what I expected to see.
And it could happen in another project. I'm still like holding out hope that
I joined the harem
because it's
or
not
again to promote some comics. Jeff Johns' Secret Origin, which leads into Jeff Johns' Superman Brainiac. They go into this leads into a run called New Krypton, where they do bring back Kryptonians, and it's more focused on Supergirl's parents being kind of like, yeah, we don't regard Earth. Like, we're happy you survived, but now it's time to build Krypton again, and we're going to use Earth. So if they're leaning into that direction, all right, I understand. But I would if they don't, I would rather have them retcon that there were good people.
Sure. It's also a narrative conceit. And it's not like Lex Luthor is known for like, well, I couldn't violate the ethics of journalism. You know, I can open up an interdimensional portal that's going to destroy the entire universe based on my own personal animus. But no, I couldn't possibly violate like ethics of journalism.
I don't think Lex just fucking hates him. He's like, I didn't team up with Israel Baravia, not Israel, Baravia.
Before you make that
which
comment,
is also a throwback to
you
Christopher
believe
Reeve.
Baravia has a right to exist?
Yeah. I condemn Hamas. Fucking, but he's like, I didn't do this for the land. I did this to get the government to allow me to kill you because I fucking hate you.
Because that's how much he likes it. Yeah. The personal land, which is what I'm saying. Like, so therefore, why would it be a bridge too far to be like, yeah, he doctored this?
Exactly.
Yeah, of course he did. Like, I didn't even feel like that needed to be spelled out. I'm like, what? We just think that like you just. Okay, well, maybe they are. I guess it doesn't really matter because
Mr. Terrific being like, nah, I know the people that he used to vet.
Yeah,
like, it's real.
So all right. So for me, I feel like the thing with that was that it was it leaned into the choices you make. Right, like that defining who you are, and that being like such an important part
of the story. So I'm like,
well, it's the key. Like the key thing to understanding this particular Superman story is that that it's not, it's your choices, your actions. That what makes you who you are.
It's not your parents dictating to you that
this
is what you're going to be.
So therefore, maybe the conceit of like, I don't know, they really wanted a superhero for him. I don't know. I mean, it almost doesn't matter, right? I mean, again, plenty of dudes probably like, that sounds pretty good to me. Okay.
Also, another thing about Lex Luthor is like, that clip in the trailer where you see him holding a gun. When that happened, I was like, oh my God.
And that was great.
I was like, damn, Nicholas Hoult. Like, I forget that you're an actor. Like, this is how you do Lex Luthor, not freaking Mark Zuckerberg type. Okay. You know who I'm talking about. But like, I was like, damn,
actual Mark Zuckerberg,
cold blooded killer. Like,
well, and that's the thing with both, I think, Superman in this movie and Lex Luthor. Like, the world is around them might be kind of comedic, and there might be all these bits and like stuff going on, and like a lot of aliens and other like metahumans and all the stuff going on like around them. And like one of the funniest scenes I think is when you see behind Lois Lane and fucking Superman, they're having like a really like serious conversation, and you just see like the Starro thing from
that's what I was talking about. That scene,
like that behind them. I don't know, I thought that was kind of funny because there's just so much going on in this world. But Nicholas Hoult plays Lex Luthor as just deep envious, like revenge seeking evil, and Superman is played as deep human, like humanity loving, like empathetic good. And for those two things to like, that's what really makes the movie for me. I think if they had Superman just be like, and then Lex Luthor would be like, you know what I mean? If they did something like, if they had those as silly
very like serious.
If they had like
selfishness versus selflessness is the theme of the movie.
But if they had those as like silly characters, I would have been like, yeah, this movie doesn't work for me. But the fact that those two performances are done, as
really
serious performances, and then everyone else might be like, I'm a robot, I'm an alien, blah blah, whatever it is, and like they have to react to that the way that they really would as characters.
There's pathos to it. If there wasn't pathos to it, it wouldn't matter.
This is a book called Lex Luthor. Actually, it's just called Luthor by Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo. If you want to get into his pathology and why exactly he fucking hates Superman, read this book. It is fantastic.
But in a way, I mean, Superman has his own, I would call it almost a pathology. Like,
is that the hold on, Forrest? Is that the wickedization of Lex Luthor?
The what?
The wickedization of Lex
mean?
Luthor. The movie Wicked. Hello, is this a movie show? What are we doing here?
But I haven't seen the movie or the play.
Well, the idea is it's from the Wicked Witch's point of view, and like Chris McGuire, like swim.
Yes.
Boy, did that bit die in the vine?
Okay.
Huh? All right. Jesus Christ.
It took me a second. But yes, that is
Christ
what
on
this
a
is.
fucking.
There's
right.
also they
I'll
also
see
wrote
myself out.
They also wrote a Joker book, which is very good.
Well, so in a way, like,
we saw that. We saw that with like fucking. Anyway, whatever.
Superman's empathy in some ways is almost a pathology in the sense that, like, he has to go and save every single thing. Like it's almost like a compulsion in a way.
Yeah.
Like and he realizes in the moment that he's doing it, like he's annoyed by it. Like when he has to go like, oh my God, here's another woman that I have to save, and he like there's other thing, but he can't help himself because he's so deeply empathetic. And you see I like that you have the character of like like Hawk Girl and the Green Hornet and Hawk Girl and the Green Lantern, not the Green Hornet. Different movie.
Green Hornet. Suddenly Seth Rogen shows up as the Green Hornet. Hey everybody!
Hawk Girl and the Green Lantern.
Superman! Oh, Superman!
Hawk Girl and the Green
Why am I even here? I'm a street level hero.
Mr. Terrific that don't have that same pathology. I got something green for you, Superman.
Speaking of Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific, I recommend Jeff Johns' Green Lantern Reaper.
But the Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific don't share that same pathology. And like Netanyahu / Ben Gurion / Putin, our favorite guy from Triangle of Sadness, he finds out like he's like you guys are just like Superman. You will not kill me. And she's like, no, I'm not like Superman. And yes, I will. And drops him off the building.
That was great.
Yeah,
I wish we got a little more from Hawk Girl. Again, this movie is very stuffed with things, and we are going to get more Hawk Girl going forward. She's in Peacemaker season 2. I don't know how much, but she's in the trailer. So is Lantern. We're getting the Lanterns TV show. There's talk now of a Mr. Terrific.
I hope Nathan Fillion stuck with that haircut for like 10 years.
That'd be a wig, right?
He has it still on the Rookie or whatever.
Oh God!
If you want this book is.
I love that. I love that.
How many years do you get to be a rookie? Right, because that show's been on the air like a long time, right?
I mean, he trains new rookies every season. That's what it is, and I'm like,
that's
not fun.
I think of Big Mouth though, and she goes Nathan Fillion every time I hear his full name.
Huge shout out to Zlak. Just real quick, Alex. Zlatko Buric. Again, we mentioned Triangle of Sadness, which we've covered on this very show. And if people have not seen Triangle of Sadness, you should. It's a good movie.
It's got a 10-minute long seasick segment.
I was going to say, best use of vomit in a serious motion picture. For sure. But Zlatko Buric also is in the Pusher movies, which is what Nicholas Winding Refn did before he became known for the Drive style neon drenched David Lynch, Michael Mann thing. And the Pusher movies are fantastic. I hope to cover them on this show. And I knew him as basically like, he's this Danish character actor that just looks like a scraggly alley cat. And like now it's like to see him as like, oh, he's like, alcoholic Netanyahu, as you said, Forrest. Slash Putin. Like, great. That's he's awesome because the guy's a great actor. And it's so great to see a great character actor get the call up for something really cool.
Yeah. He's been getting compared to Ben Gurion because of the hair, but that's just his hair.
Like, that's his hair in real life. Like,
he's more Netanyahu than Ben Gurion for sure.
The accent is pure Netanyahu. Like he has the deep voice like this. He was like, and they have the fucking Merkava tanks too. Like the people are like, oh, this not really is like it is like, dude, they have Merkava tanks. The guy looks like I never noticed Zlatko Buric looks and sounds like Netanyahu, kind of like the way that his like face is just set up. And like they have the Merkava tanks coming in and they blow up the tanks. They blow up the tactical gear. Like it's so cool.
Awesome. I mean, Green Lantern coming up and just doing the fingers, like the middle fingers, was awesome.
People like
he doesn't regard it. He's like, this is toys to me.
There's all these posts of people being like, everybody was cheering. Everyone was cheering when he threw Netanyahu off of.
Everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, do you know?
And I love that Green Lantern got an arc. Like,
this is anti-Semitic.
Green Lantern wanted to be celebrated as a hero. And when he shows up, he finally is celebrated as a hero, and he's like, "Oh, this feels good."
Because Superman's inspired him.
Exactly.
Like
everything is about Superman. As overstuffed as this movie is, everything relates back to Superman. So that's what grounded.
And it's also nurture versus nature.
Yes.
And I think that's very important as well. Alex, I kind of railroaded you over your comic recommendations to recommend 4 different movies that all star the guy that's cut the dollar store Benjamin Netanyahu. But like they're all great movies, and I again really do hope we do the Pusher movies someday on this show because they're fantastic. But Triangle of Sadness also features Woody Harrelson as a socialist sea captain, as well as featuring the best use of Obama
so good.
motion
I
picture.
was watching the feed last night where they're we went back and forth with the quotes on their phone, and he's like,
so.
The
So
problem with socialism, you will eventually run out of other people's money. Margaret Thatcher.
It's so because they're having this like drunken tete-a-tete, and it's Triangle of Sadness. I wouldn't say it's like the best movie of all time, but it's very good.
Yeah,
I'm glad we covered it.
I was tweeting it last night, and someone was like Freddie was talking to me about Superman, and he was like just going back and forth, and I was like, "Have you seen Triangle of Sadness?" And I actually posted that clip on my Twitter to be like, "Yo, everyone!"
Dude, it's
everyone's
especially
gotta see that.
if you're politically minded. You should first of all watch Triangle of Sadness, and then go watch our episode on Triangle of Sadness with Zach Marsh, I think, because it's that's entertaining as well.
Which, by the way, Zach Marsh saw Superman first day, gave it 5 stars, and sent it to me because he sends me his like big letterbox reviews. He's like,
Zach Marsh coming on next week for Life of Chuck. He said confidently. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next week. Then Jaws. Okay. Good. If I pull up another tab, I'm gonna go latent.
You know what bit I always think about with Jaws? The fucking Clerks where it's Randall. He's like, sell us the shark. We're gonna need a bigger boat.
I love it.
You know what? You know what's funny about like when
We
the
celebrate
trailers.
also Shark on the show. Thank you.
Yes. Wait, is it Shark Week coming up though too?
I don't know if it's the same week, but it is Shark Week coming
We
up.
get our top researchers on that.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting too is how many people were trying to dissect what was going on in the movie by the trailers.
It is.
Because to me, the trailers did not reveal anything.
It's gonna be one day after Shark Week ends.
Thankfully, like I'm sick of these trailers that show you the whole god-pounding movie. Like it's enough.
I literally was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on in the Superman movie.
What?
But I'm assuming people hate it for some reason.
They have this thing that I didn't know existed, where people post videos reacting to trailers. I didn't know we were
Wait,
at
you
that
didn't
point.
know people reacted to trailers?
Well, I know
I
sometimes
have
people
trailer
do, like,
reactions on my channel.
There were so many people reacting to like just the trailer, like posting the trailer. Like I didn't know, like I knew some people reacted to trailers, but I didn't know like it was like a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Oh God,
I do it too.
So how do
I
you
love
think these
watching
right
it.
funny?
So point of order, great example of a recent awesome trailer 28 years later, as we established when we did that, because it doesn't tell you much about what you're seeing. And in fact, if you try to infer what the plot would be based on the trailer, you'd be wrong. But it's so good, and it's like, wow, that looks awesome. Like in that same way that Alien is a great trailer.
Yeah.
That new The Long Walk movie that's based on the Stephen King book. That was a 5-minute
It was
trailer.
not on the list, by the way.
One of my favorite short stories of all time, and I wrote a song about it. I'm gonna keep saying
but
that.
the trailer. I saw the trailer before I saw Ballerina, and I couldn't remember what it was last week, but it was Ballerina, and it was a 5-minute trailer, and it gave you like the whole plot. It's like, oh, they're on a walk, and if you stop walking, you get killed. And
because they probably are like, well, the Running Man's coming out, the remake of the Running Man's coming out, and like people don't know what the Long Walk is. It's I'm sure it's like studio notes.
Long March.
I just wish people. I mean, it's incredible. It's an incredible plot. It's astounding.
Mark Hamill plays Chairman Mao in The Long March, the movie.
But I think that it comes back to the larger thing of just not trusting the audience to engage. And you know why they don't trust the audience? Because the audience are a bunch of idiots.
Yes.
Sorry.
Especially with this trailer. Do you know how many people were like, is it possible for Superman to save everyone and for buildings to not collapse? And I'm like, oh my God, people, are we really bitching about these things?
Yeah, I saw one thing that was like, well, aren't there people in the buildings? What if the building collapses? There's people in the buildings, and he didn't save those people. And it's like,
so first of all, the trailer's in the movie. Second of all, shut up and never speak again.
And he can't save everybody, and that is his pathos. He can't save everybody. He tries.
Yeah,
he tries his goddamnedest.
Someone said that him rescuing a squirrel shows a sign of weakness.
Oh my God. It's like a pathological desire to save everybody in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
and I get it.
There's a compulsion because so many superhero movies or so many superhero things. There's like oh well, we have to weigh how many people get killed in this, like Captain America Civil War or whatever, the Marvel one, where it's like, is it really worth it because you actually killed 186 people in a building just to get this other guy, and it's like, but he could have killed more people.
I never fucked with that criticism. Even in Man of Steel, I when that started happening afterwards, I was like, who cares? Have you seen Transformers? How many fucking buildings they destroy and people they probably kill in those movies? Like, when did this start mattering?
Maybe because it's Bravia is based on Israel.
I tried to watch it, but the CGI was so bad I couldn't keep track of who was who.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe because Bravia is based on Israel, they text you first and they go, "We are about to destroy your building. Get out of the building."
Yeah,
we are the most moral supervillains in the world.
Civil War, Age of Ultron, where they are making a point to show them saving people in Sokovia is a reaction to Man of Steel. I think that was probably reshoots, and I'm like, but we assume that you're saving people. You're stopping the bad guy from doing his dastardly plan.
Then Civil War is like some kind of international legal drama playing out where they're like in the UN and everyone's going back and forth, and they're like, we're censored. And that was like one of
and that's a Registration Act, which is also the Patriot Act, et cetera, et cetera. But getting back to the earlier point, Alex, I think you hit on something important, because I think that every Superman that we've had has been a reaction to or some aspect of the Christopher Reeves Donner Superman.
Very much. I mean,
and that's almost
a reaction to Superman Returns, where it was like,
sure. I mean, we can sit there and name them if you want, but I'm just saying that like every single one of them, like because this was the movie, the superhero movie template. Like is it better or worse than Superman? And the answer is almost always worse for years and years. But I think that credit where credit's due. He does such an amazing job for an almost impossible character portrayal that isn't just an homage to the Reeves Superman. It's something different.
It's its own
like
thing.
he has to deal with like X. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he has to deal with like online people, and that's done in a way that's not cringy. It's not any more annoying than dealing with the world that has to deal with that. Like it's an impossible balance beam. And he manages to do it not just in the writing, but in the performance. Yeah. Dude, who I literally only saw got Smoke and Pearl.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never seen him in something else.
I saw him in Ryan Murphy's Hollywood show, which I mean, he does have those old Hollywood looks.
Yeah, he has.
Sure.
He don't really see anymore. Old Hollywood
he's certainly got the look, right? Yeah. But I'm saying I did not have any. There's no point of veracity for like this guy having a weight of performance and being able to. Again, there is a Christopher Reeve documentary. I've been too emotionally unstable to sit there and like watch it, but like at some point I will watch it. I'm sure it's fantastic. It's a horrible story, but I think that it's an impossible mission, so to speak. But he pulls it. He doesn't pull it off. He does something different with it, and it's not just an aspect or a reaction. And God, pound it! It's what makes this movie work.
I love he won't curse. He says, "What the hey?" He says, "Golly!" Like, and you believe that this guy would say that because we see his parents. One of the best scenes is when his parents call him and he's on the phone in the busy city journalist office, and you hear all the noise around him, and then it cuts to them sitting on their porch in Smallville, silence, crickets. In the and it's just the contrast.
And the sports writer guy is sitting there talking trash. Yeah, exactly.
Well, what's that, Clark? The dad's sitting there next to him, and he's like, "Well, we tried the burrito place, and you'll be happy to know the burritos are just as good as they were when you were a kid. We went on down to the mall there, and it was like he's talking about that kind of stuff.
It's so small town, like father.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to say before we moved off the Christopher Reeves thing, when I was a kid, I first got into like the 1978 Superman movie because my dad was working for this guy. I've told you guys this, but I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast. My dad was working for this guy, Larry Badendike, who his son Thor, named after the comic book Thor. Like he was like an up and coming comics artist who ended up getting into a truck, hit his he was driving one night with his fiance, and a truck hit them, and they hit they T-boned like the truck, and he became paralyzed, the same like a quadriplegic, the same way that Christopher Reeves did, and he learned to draw with his mouth and ended up working for Marvel. He ended up working for DC, ended up working for Image Comics, like all these big places, drawing literally with his mouth, and he died last year. after like he had to live in his parents' basement. So my dad was helping them design all like the whole thing to make it so that he could access everything and stuff. But like his hero was Christopher Reeve because around the same time they had the same accident that happened.
That's crazy. Going back to the going back to on Christopher Reeves, my comic book recommendations. The guy I said wrote the Superman Secret Origins and Superman Brainiac, Jeff Johns. He also wrote this Green Lantern book called Green Lantern Rebirth. He was a assistant to Richard Donner on Superman and has worked with him in writing his Superman books. So, but if you want some more Green Lantern, start here. Jeff Johns, Green Lantern Rebirth. If you want more Mr. Terrific, get Tom King's Strange Adventures, which is about Adam Strange. The way Tom King is working with James Gunn, I feel like we're going to get some Adam Strange, but this is a secret Mr. Terrific book. And Lobo, who's going to be the villain in the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie, played by Jason Momoa.
Yeah, it's
Mr.
Adrian Johnny. Yeah.
Lobo Unbound by Keith Giffen and Alex Horley. It's a short book. It's fun. Lobo is a hilarious character. And I can't wait to see how they portray him in the movie.
Can I just give a shout out?
Comics, I promise.
Okay, to Edie Gathegi, who's on this criminally underrated For All Mankind.
Is it Edie or is it Eddie? I couldn't tell.
I don't know. I mean, I've never heard his name
the justice
spoken
he
aloud,
deserved from the X-Men movie.
Look, and I'm sensitive to it. My name is Conan, but I'm just saying I've never heard it spoken aloud. But like he is so good as Mr. Terrific. Again, a niche. We'll just charitably say C to D-list character.
Yeah,
and this is a guy that was just that guy. Like I think he's in he's in Crank as a cabbie at some point.
He was in X-Men.
He's Darwin. Yeah, he's Darwin in X-Men.
Who can't be killed.
Sure. Yeah. Let's move on. But for All Mankind is an incredible show. Really amazing, and he's a really good character in it. I wish anyone other than me has seen it, but it's because it's about like space race. But what if the Russians got to the moon first?
He also
I hope that if they have Mr. Terrific in another movie, I want to hear Christopher Walken say Mr. Terrific. I don't know.
Wait, we'll play what Maxwell what was that guy say? Frost? Didn't he play
Deacon Frost and Blade?
Yeah, bring him back.
but I want to see I want to see him like be like, we must stop Mr. Terrific, and then he like cuts whatever.
All right,
I love how they balance everything.
So
I want to say the Lex Luthor thing. We were talking about it. There's like in 1960s when they gave him like a backstory and they created like the scientist character who was like a respectable scientist, but like, insane behind the scene, like that whole thing. James Gunn read like so much Superman that he like pointed out like, oh, this is the point of the Superman comics that we were bringing the Nicholas Hoult character out of. And like, he was going into this whole thing where he's explaining like before that there was like, he was kind of just this crazy guy, and he was like a mad scientist that was just like crazy. But then they made him more respectable, and they made him like a member of the community that like demands respect and like wants, feels envious of Superman. And they took it out of that. Like, so it's funny that Superman's been around for so many decades. They can kind of pick and choose these different things, and then people go,
well, they gave context to the villain instead of being like, I'm an evildoer that loves to do evil. You gave him like a background, because as we've talked about often on this show, every villain is the hero of their own story.
Yep.
And even then, in this, he is kind of just evil for doing evil. I hate Superman, but he justifies it. He says, my envy is saving humanity. I've come up with so many inventions and so much technology that has helped everyday life because of my hatred of Superman, because of my urge and drive to dominate and be the most celebrated human on the planet. He disregards like Socrates and there's someone else that he mentions like
can you imagine the tweet, Lex, what about the Socratic method?
Okay, you know what, Tim Pool would make a good fit.
And I like Mr. Terrific pointing that out and being like, this is the kind of junk science that got Lex Luthor a lot of money, because he gets to, like Elon Musk, say, I'm going to have self-driving cars, or we're going to go to Mars. Give me money. Trust me. It's going to work. But he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's playing around. And meanwhile, it's killing people. The AI, the self-driving cars are killing people on the street. The interdimensional portal is killing people in Metropolis. There are A lot of parallels here.
It also feels like when Superman came out, right? Like literally within years, there's like Superman versus Hitler, and it's like because of where the world was, right? Like the Nazis are like the personification of evil in our like forever in our time, and like so because of that, it's like very easy to have like just like, oh, I'm a crazy villain and I hate Jews or whatever, and then Superman comes and beats him up. Rather than having to like when it's the 60s and things are more, everyone's thinking in more nuanced, no longer even like Cold War terms. People are thinking about more nuanced forms of evil and like corporate evil and all of these things. You could be like, oh well, this guy is actually doing evil for he's jealous of Superman.
Yeah, that's the Captain America punching Hitler on the cover. Of
everyone got to punch Hitler at one point. Batman punched Hitler. Fucking
exactly.
Superman.
He's got a glass jaw. That guy. That's really what he's bitching about in Downfall. Downfall, everybody. Thank you. Remember Downfall? Moved it back to art house.
Lex was the first mad scientist. He was that archetype. And then, like you were saying, he's been evolved and been part of the community and celebrated as a titan of industry. I have a book where he's going to run for president. That the cover of the book is literally like a mock of Donald Trump's Art of the Deal, and it's just called Luthor. But in that era, in the 80s, he was a pastiche of Donald Trump. He was a real estate guy, while also being a brilliant scientist. And you can see it in the original Superman. Like he's like running around with his fucking wig on, talking about how much he loves. By the way, there's a question. Forrest just brought up retcons to the panel. What are your all-time favorite retcons of Superman? Are there any new retcons that James Gunn made that you loved in the film? So it's like retroactive continuity, like reinterpreting different characters.
I mean, for my favorite one is Batman the Animated Series, where why Mr. Freeze does what he does. That's the best one, I think, out of all like retcons.
In the comics, right before that, that show premiered, and I think that was the first episode actually, Heart of Ice. In the comics, they brought Joker back in post-crisis continuity, and he kills Mr. Freeze because they have so little regard for that character, and he looked like the Kenner Toys version of Mr. Freeze. But then when the animated series came out and everybody loved this version, they said, "Oh, he's actually alive, and this is him. We're doing that."
I love this so much for the tolerant left. Nazi getting punched.
I mean, I've seen the article clipping going around from the 40s of like, Nazis in Berlin unhappy with this new character called Superman. In America.
Right, exactly.
Hitler himself is like, what the hell?
So answering. Yeah. If I can answer that question real quick, I think that the Harley Quinn animated series is completely underrated. And what that does with every character, inclusive of the titular character as well as Poison Ivy, Joker running and winning as a socialist mayor is fantastic adult storytelling.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
I stopped after
for the first time.
Yeah.
Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
It's really good. And it's something where you have to. I think you have to have a little bit of context and interest in the characters to appreciate why they do this different with it. But it's just very much adult humor.
Yeah.
And it's done so. Dude, there's an A24 joke in the Harley Quinn show.
Yeah.
And I laugh my
ass
too.
I see the Harley Quinn show as Family Guy with a coat of DC paint on it. I like it. I watched I think season 1 and 2, and then I stopped. But I'm happy to go back to it. I like it. It's fun.
It's a good time. So that was one of the favorite retcons. I like that, but also you got to understand it's gone on at least 2 seasons too long. I love Cobra Kai too, which is William Zabka's character basically it was an illegal kick for Karate Kid, and it's based off that what is this guy's life? First of all, he's a sad drunk, and it's so good. It's gone on too long. It needs to stop. It's enough. Yep. We're done now. But I like that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that I appreciate when you have the context of the other thing to get background for a character to establish.
And like you said, the wickedization of it. What it brings to me is if you said the maleficentness or the maleficentization, that's the one that pops in my head.
I'd be afraid I'd pronounce it just like you did, and I'll be laughed off the stage. So, Maleficent.
for like the 1940s article being like, on top of like Superman versus Hitler, right? There really is like the Nietzsche Ubermensch concept where it's like translated to Superman, and it's like to understand how Superman really is like almost like a subversive character in this time. Like you really have to think about like the philosophical implications of the Nazis trying to grab onto like the Ubermensch concept as like the ultimate man, and then for two Jewish authors, not just anything else, like two Jewish authors in America that were Jewish refugees, being like, no, this is the Ubermensch Superman, and he's fighting for truth and justice in the American way. Fuck you guys. So that's something that like gets under the Nazi skin almost immediately. So because it's like Jerry Siegel
and Ben Shapiro brought up in his review.
I
know.
We made it.
Superman Red Sun.
I
just want to point it out. Superman Red Sun, and he was saying, "Oh, this is why like you got to say the American way because it's important that he's an American." But in Superman Red Sun, it is about Superman himself making the choice to not be a tool of the USSR anymore and to actually save Americans and save humanity. And it's more important to save everybody. It doesn't matter your political leanings. So clearly the motherfucker didn't read the book or even watch the animated movie.
Of course he didn't. And why? Like, I don't want to give him any error of any kind.
He's a fucking idiot.
Because reacting to him amplifies it. Right? That's why is Conan no fun about not bringing that up? Because it just adds fuel to the fire for someone that already shouldn't have a platform. From Super Chat, which we say that we're going to read every time in the intro, I'd say Venture Brothers v. Harley Quinn would have loved a Lower Decks kind of show for Doctor Who. Agree. I mentioned that too because within the space chat, somebody said the Harley Quinn show is more Venture Brothers than Family Guy. And I would agree with that. It's meta-referential, but it's not like overtly so. It's clever if you're fans of the genre, yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, in summary, fuck Ben Shapiro. Thank you.
Superman is probably, that's a good question. You know what? I would say Secret Origin. Secret Origin by Jeff Johns. That is
your favorite retcon.
It is. It retcons everything by incorporating everything. It incorporates all the Golden Age, Silver Age silliness with the modern storytelling. And
all the crisis stuff they kind of had to, right? Yeah, I mean, there's made such a goddamn mess of it.
But Jeff Johns was putting it all together, and then fucking New 52 happened. Don't get me started on the comics.
So can we?
I wanted to say with the this hasn't happened yet, but I'm hoping that there's more retconning going on with as like the boys hit everything so big, and I felt like and it's obviously from the actual Superman comics, like the Ultraman kind of thing, where it's his clone that he has to fight at the end of this. I felt like in some ways that comes out of the the classic like the boys thing because of the humor in it. You know what I mean? Where he's going back and forth. But there's the but I want to see how superhero movies respond to something like the boys being so popular, and like that concept of like superhero fatigue, I guess. Taking over people and people being like, well, there's so many superhero movies. I feel like they're going to do something interesting. Somebody's going to come up with something very interesting with something like The Boys and like, the movies in one of these universes.
They did it. It's Superman.
Yeah.
I mean,
being kind, being empathetic is the new punk rock. It's not Homelander. It's not, Butcher killing everybody. Right. It's Superman. It's being
which the Boys is again, that was a very like uber cynical dark reaction. And by the way, the comics not that great, not his best work, frankly. The show is better than the comics.
I love Preacher is like the main Garth.
No, Preacher's amazing, but The Boys is like B-. It's just as a comic,
just having fun
and dated, very dated. But the show is a better representation of it.
The president or whatever, like the AOC character in the show, that is literally like a George Bush, like it's literally drawn like George Bush, but like Jack.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was time. Okay, switching back to this movie, Skylar Gisondo as the Jimmy Olsen with swag.
Oh,
I'm here for it.
A lot of people are like, I don't get it. I'm like, he's like this, like in the comics too.
Finally,
chicks love him.
I feel like we've given some aspect of like the 1950s, like, oh, sorry, sir, bespectacled and like sweater vest Jimmy Olsen for years. It's like, we got a Jimmy Olsen with some swag now. Great.
You know what? I know him from.
Yeah,
good.
The Bill Engvall show. Him and Jennifer Lawrence were brother and sister on that show back in 2007.
What a pull! The
Yeah.
Bill Engvall show. That's
Ew,
funny.
it's
I was
bad.
He's been in so many. He's been in so many things, but I just think of the Righteous Gemstones, where he's
Hell
the
yeah.
and
yeah.
like everyone's like, oh wow, it's I forget his fucking name in the Righteous Gemstones, but they're like
Sky Witchsando. Yeah.
But no, I forget his name. But like they're like, oh, and I was like, yeah, he finally got into a movie with some real stunt man. Because
he was also in Booksmart, which we covered on this very show.
Yeah.
He's also been
yeah.
in Licorice Pizza.
Licorice
He's been in a
Pizza,
bunch- all
yeah,
kinds of
and
stuff. Yeah.
he was also in there was like a bunch of I think there's other shows that I watched that he was in that I
Night in the
can't.
Museum 3.
No, I don't think that's
he
what I
was great.
thinking
Jimmy
of.
was great. Steve Lombard was great. Perry White. Everyone played their role. Like
Santa Clarita Diet. He was in Santa Clarita Diet.
Oh yeah. I
But
didn't
you
see
know
that.
what's funny? I knew right away that Eve was like his help. I was like, oh, that has to be her. It has to be her.
I
You
didn't
know,
know.
like
when he unblocked it and it was like all like cursing and a lot of it, like a wall of text on her side, I was like, oh, Eve, that's funny. It's his ex is now dating Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
That's kind
Well,
of
there's the other part that's really funny when he goes want to meet up, and he goes to meet up with her, and there's 3 like prostitutes. They're like, hey, want to hang out?
And he's like,
and in the office, there's girls checking him out. I just like that.
Yeah.
Girls like Jimmy Olsen in this universe.
It's a Jimmy Olsen with swag. You know,
And he actually
finally we
lives.
got one. It's great. You know,
Well, it's supposed
like
to be
that-
yeah.
I was gonna say that's important to me as Nicholas Hoult like killing it as Lex Luthor,
Yeah,
or
he was
Rachel
great.
Brosnan being like the best Lois Lane in my opinion. You know,
It's supposed to be that like Clark Kent, his glasses are obviously, he has stuff going on so that it hides his face, but it's also supposed to be that everyone's so busy looking at Jimmy Olsen that they don't
right.
check out
Notice
Clark
this
Kent's
guy.
I
face.
love that they shouted out
Yeah.
hypno glasses.
The hypno glasses and
Oh,
a tossed off line, and I'm like, wait, what? And then it's like, oh, great, that's
Yeah,
that's the thing.
nailed it. Didn't over explain it. You don't need a Vox explainer about that.
I knew from the first trailer when we see the clip of him in the like baseball diamond. First of all, baseball All American, very fun.
Yep.
But him fighting Ultraman, and when they said it was Ultraman, I was like, that's fucking Bizarro. That's a clone.
it's
it's a Lex
absolutely
clone,
Bizarro.
and it's gonna be
Yes.
Bizarro. And then when he went into the black hole with all the QB shit, I'm like, oh, they're gonna do Bizarro World. He's gonna have a whole planet. Oh my god, I can't.
I realize you mean Cube as in CUBE-Y and not QB, the doomed short form comedy platform.
Yes.
But that said, I am envisioning a scenario of there being a pocket dimension full of doomed comedians trying to get their big break, all doing like their Type 2.
What do you guys think of the Pocket Universe thing? By the way, it's so.
They threw it in there, and I was like, okay, I believe you can make that.
I mean, it felt like I was making the joke before we did
That's
this.
where they imprison a lot of those.
It's a black site. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a concentration camp.
Using
right?
that as
You know?
a.
But I was
as
making the joke about like Superman gets sent to El Salvador and watching the movie. I was like, oh no, yeah, they really did. They got sent to El Salvador. Like, and they even shouted out, they're like, oh, there's people from other. I mean, I know it was written before we got to this dark moment, but like they're like, oh, there's people from other like dictatorships or whatever.
Unfortunately, it happens.
You know,
throughout
I
history.
get money
Yeah.
to put people in this thing. And his fucking ex-girlfriend, which is the most Elon Musk thing in the world.
Yeah.
His exes are in there. It was really
Yeah.
funny. And I liked how not only Lex's like crew were when he knocks over the pencils and they're all trying to pick him up and be the one who picks him up for Lex so
Right.
that they can hope to get like a raise or something. The prisoners are also trying to be the one to tell the guards
Yeah.
that
Let me narc. I'll be the first one to
so
narc.
that
Yeah.
maybe I can get out. You know, I love the culture of fear that he engenders in the people around him, makes him scarier, even when Nicholas Hoult is hamming it up as
They
Lex.
had the amazing line though with when it's his ex, and I almost felt like Conan in this moment. But he's like, "Oh, that's my ex. She wrote a blog about me, and I wanted to be like, shout out to blogs, like you know, this day is brought to you by blogs."
Also, KT said that wondered if Forrest and Alex were related because it's like you could almost copy and paste each other. Because Forrest, you've done the mustache in the past.
Yeah, I've done the
too.
mustache. That was up until I got my license renewed a little while ago. That was my
half
my-
yeah.
half
I
white,
can
half
see it.
mustache,
on my
half
license.
And you got to. All right, so Alex, you need a pair of glasses that maybe are hypnotic. Who knows? And Forrest, you need a Green Lantern hat.
I feel like these are like the greatest Clark Kent glasses. You know, like,
Yeah.
like
I'm hypned. hypnotized
yeah.
already.
like
I wore these to the
like-
Weird Al concert.
like I feel like because when I was a kid, I was like, dude, there's no way. He puts on the glasses and he's a totally different person. You put on like a giant ass pair of glasses like this, and you're like, you change your posture.
Can I tell you, Jello Biafra still will look at me and go squint and be like, it's Conan. Like, oh, because I wore glasses the longest time and it just pattern recognized the glasses. I'm talking about for literal years. I haven't worn glasses since 2008. And it's again, I have a specific Neo celebrity shout out of that exact thing you're talking about. But I do think
this episode is brought to you by Jello Biafra from Mayor.
Which is kind of like the Harley Quinn animated series Joker run is very much inspired by the Jello Biafra real life run for Mayor in 1978. Yeah. Okay, so Other Dimensional Guantanamo Bay is good. I liked it. It worked for me. I didn't like some of the looks of it, like it's sort of kind of like CGI.
Yeah.
Or I mean,
like whatever, and it to me it was kind of like
blue in there.
It's a half-baked pocket universe.
Yeah.
It served the purpose that he needed it for. He didn't care about the ramifications or how it looked.
Nope.
It just works. And then Mr. Terrific's like, yeah, this is bullshit. This is extremely dangerous. And I love
you're right.
He was.
It fits the criteria of the Lex Luthor character, who was like, he just doesn't care. He doesn't care. He like doesn't have anybody tell him no. Quite the contrary, surrounded by like yes men that are all very well paid. One can imagine. But even then, like guys like, hey, I'm ready to input the code to like stop the universe from exploding anytime. Should I do that right now? I should probably do that, right? Yeah. And he's like, no, let it go. It's like, oh, really? And he's like probably being like, how much of a
and then when Terrific showed up, that guy found another person to suck up to and was like, hey, I've been telling Lex to close it for hours. I'll help you close it. And he said, I ain't like, goddamn Mr. Terrific.
Don't care at all. Get out of here.
Nobody to help me.
Which is that is
engineer.
Yeah.
The engineer was cool. Nanotech, whatever.
I like that they found a way to incorporate Metamorpho, like just as another.
Yes.
Like, why not incorporate like another superhero character from DC that's like.
In that moment, Lex saying, "There's no more kryptonite on Earth," and you believe it because it's Lex saying it, and he would know because he's going to be looking. For
and
it.
he also figured out a way to, to achieve his goals. Right?
Lex Luthor tweets out, "We will coup whoever we want to get kryptonite."
Yeah, exactly. It's the new vibranium.
So two things. Another shout out before we go to Letterboxd one-liners. I just love Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner. It's so great. To me, it's the comedic heart of the movie, inclusive of the haircut, which is amazing. And as someone who has been with that guy since Firefly, is just like I always love to see Nathan Fillion winning.
There couldn't be a different like a different kind of superhero guy than Superman in this too, which expands the world by quite a lot. Like his whole, I mean, of course, I love we're both men of the cloth, but like to have a character who is completely self-interested, and has no discipline about what he says, and has no because he's like talking about like how many girls he's been with, and like he can't even discipline himself enough to not give away Superman's secret identity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Guy Gardner,
I'll kill Clark Kent too, and I'm like,
Guy Gardner in the comics, he gets by a train, if I remember correctly, and is kind of not right for a long time afterwards. And I know that Nathan Fillion's a huge fan, to the fact that I guess he made multiple rings, Green Lantern rings, and he wore one to the premiere.
That's awesome.
That's how much dedicated he is to this. I love that. Yeah, there you go. Just like our guest Alex right now. But I think I don't think it works. I think it works without him, but I think it's very clear and leaning into that Silver Age fun aspect of it with a modern sensibility. Like when he sorry, spoiler everyone, when he's middle fingering up the tanks. Great. Yeah. I got no notes for that. That's good. That's the Kevin Smith style visual humor,
And also displays he's a fucking Green Lantern.
He's the Green Lantern.
Much bigger problems.
He can do anything except affect the color yellow. That's the one thing he can do.
He's the Green Lantern. He's Green Lantern, not the Green Hornet.
Yeah, exactly. Not the Green. Whoa!
No, he was fantastic in the movie. I'm so happy.
I can't believe we're in a war, Superman.
But
seeing Green
where's
Lantern
Kato?
on the screen.
I like also the detail that there's Lantern Corps or whatever. There's the company. oh, like they're sponsored by a company. Like there's somebody out there that's like has like a lab that's like sponsoring them, as opposed to Superman being like,
well, it's Lord,
and
it's
Lord.
Maxwell Lord, and we do not have time to get into Maxwell Lord and all that. But I'm glad it's there, and I'm glad he gets the line of like, oh, finally Democrats and Republicans can agree on something. Lex Luthor's dick or whatever he says.
Yeah.
He's another billionaire.
I caught
who's
all
just
those
like,
cameos.
and this is my chance to be the top billionaire that everybody loves.
Yeah.
Everyone saw the Justice Gang go save those people. Like he's taking advantage of it in that movie. Term is Lantern X.
It's very good. It's very good, Stevie. Well done.
But there's the I loved the Michael Ian Black Tucker Carlson.
That was good.
Like because I've been a fan of Michael Ian Black for so long before I knew him. Like his his like live politics thing, and he has so much fun being like Superman. Is he good? Like doing the fucking Tucker
he does
Carlson
a great job. He's got resting smug face anyway, and he's deploying the force of good here.
Yeah.
So last thing for a go to one-liners, just another shout out for Rachel Brosnahan. I love her Lois Lane so much. It's fantastic. I was agnostic when I heard the casting because I just wasn't familiar, but I think she really. I don't think this movie works without Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane.
Integral.
And I think she just I hope that is recognized in some way, shape, or form later in the year. I mean, who knows? Like with the genre.
My fiance actually found her. She said Lois was a little cheesy to me and a little abrasive, and I was like,
I mean, she's supposed to be though, right? Like
she is supposed to be abrasive and like gung ho and throwing herself into danger all the goddamn time.
She's won multiple Pulitzer Prizes, and as I mentioned, it's one of the first times you actually believe that the character did. It's like, I believe it.
She's believe it.
Yo, her Twitter is probably so annoying.
Probably, but what is not annoying, of course, is Letterboxd, which is a social media site for film lovers talk out with and to each other about the films that they love, and maybe the films that they didn't love, maybe the films that were exclusively thirst post about the aforementioned Lois Lane and or Superman. And of course, all of this is bottom up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. Everyone gets to chime and opine about the movies that they love, and is best expressed succinctly where they are collected weekly by yours truly for Forrest and the panel to react to. That's what this bit is. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Superman 2025. Let's go. Oh my God. Call me Gal Gadot the way I didn't know how to act right now.
Can I? No.
I like the Wonder Woman movie. I think it's in spite of her acting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think anything she's been in that ends up
Max
being
Lord.
good is in spite of her acting.
Almost everything, yeah. Snyderverse fans review bombing this are actually Lex Luthor's monkey bots for real.
That was one of my favorite bits that I forgot about. Where
I love
you
that.
find out that everyone it's just a fucking cyber monkey that's been doing the super
with Neuralink.
Yeah.
Neuralink monkeys.
I don't know. I laughed harder than I should have when I.
Is this fucking play about us? TikTok trend.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's actually a well-written Superman film.
A lot of people being mad about it. I feel like comes out of just not liking the James Gunn aesthetic. But like, I mean, I would not have been able to tolerate like a Superman film that was the other kind of aesthetic. Like
I'll just say, looking at this picture, I am reminded this is the new 52 Superman suit, and I was not a fan of that. The only difference being that there are the red trunks in the movie.
Thank God
I think it
back.
worked in the movie. Because of how he acts, and he's so well written, and David Corenswet does such a great job bringing that hokey, hopeful, idealistic character to Superman that he is. Like, the suit didn't bother me. I love the suit.
Can I say, Alex, this is a pretty nerdy show, but that takes the cake, right? I hear what you're saying. I agree, but wow.
We are trunk supporters here.
Deep on comics.
We're trunk positive and we vote. The type of movie that makes a motherfucker want to do community service.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bro, imagine having to do community service like after they knock down the giant lizard or like the giant kaiju, like
cleaning up rubble.
Yeah, like this is like the 5th time this week, or like doing community service after the Hammer of Baravia shows up. And you're like, come on. We didn't used to have robots. We didn't used to have robots like this. Who's made them? Where are they coming from?
Can I say Hammer of Baravia is one of the best fake villain names I've ever heard. It's like that's so good. That's so good, and how just like wow, you really like it's like the writer really just was like Hammer of Baravia, right? And it's like no, that's perfect because it's not real. Spoiler alert, everyone.
You know what though? It got me because I was like, hell, countries do have their own metahumans in the comics.
Oh yeah.
And they set up in the very beginning, the 300 years ago, metahumans emerged. So it would make sense that some governments are like, no, we're going to have our own heroes and that go out and do our bidding.
We have heard that you have said Baravia does not have a right to exist. Prepare to meet the Hammer.
No, I love that. I love that, that twist. And seeing the armor of the Hammer of Baravia, but also of the Raptor team that he has, and the little purple and green. I'm like, oh, there's Lex's armor.
We have heard that you said that Baravian hummus is subpar. Prepare to get the hammer.
Finally, a Superman who's silly and also fucks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yo, I mean, listen, when he's in Lois Lane's apartment and she's like, she has the bat, and then they just start like going at it. I'm like, this feels like different than the usual like tepid kind of like first kiss, and like you're kind of in the middle of the end of the honeymoon of their relationship, pretty much. Like the part where she's like, do I really want this?
No, I like that because they've been dating for a little while and now they're getting real. Yeah. And can they actually?
I want that.
You see like the will they won't they parts in Superman all the time, and you see like the they're finally.
This is like past like that part, which
together.
Is great.
This is like the 3-month mark where it's like either it has to get serious or this is over.
Yeah, right. And see my rant about all the Spider-Man movies where it's always in high school. It's like, Jesus Christ, they're 35 years old. They're in high school. All right.
We have heard that you are 35 and in high school. Prepared to put the hammer.
The comic book writers want to keep writing that Spider-Man.
Because right, exactly. But it's like I want the Spider-Man with like with relationship problems who has a shitty boss.
Yeah, I want Spider-Man with Mary Jane and having a kid.
Exactly.
I expected his boss, because it's Bunk from fucking The Wire. I expected his boss to be like, let's go out on the roof, and he has like Jameson and like a little.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
That'd be great.
He's like singing the Pogues, and he's mad drunk on the roof. They're like, the boss is back on the roof again.
Hawk Girl Summer.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go.
Again, I wish we got a little more of her, but we will in future projects. But
I'm glad
she did. I love that she screamed every time that she showed up.
I'm glad she doesn't have the Hawk Tua podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
I have two letterbox. Right, exactly. I had two letterbox mutuals that were, let's just say, had the reverse reaction to whether they were or were not excited by the Hawk Girl screaming.
She threw Netanyahu off the roof.
She's gonna have a war cry.
Yeah, one of them was solidly in the pro camp, and the other was solidly in the anti camp. So,
I mean, the first thing I did think of was Black Canary. I was like, "Are you taking away from a future Black Canary by having Hawk Girl also scream?" But it's not like a superpower. It's just she likes to do it.
It's not like there's like a screaming super broad quotient.
Monopoly on screaming.
There can be multiple ones.
That was my first thought in the theater.
Screaming super broads. Thank you. Like and subscribe, everybody.
That guy, Christina, you know Freddie that hosts the podcast with Anders Lee.
Yeah.
So he had some tweet that was like it's like Hawk Girl threw Netanyahu off a roof the same way that they talk about Hamas throwing gay people off roofs in Israel.
Yeah.
Wow.
I cannot do the scream.
Woof.
Listen, you getting down and dirty. You know, the night's young. You're hooking up, and then you hear that.
Whoa, wait. Okay, I get where that was going.
Next. People who give this film half star should be giving Guy Gardner's haircut immediately.
Yes.
See how you fare without a ring.
It's crazy. The ultimate thing is like if Superman can even inspire that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. I loved that because I was like, well, how's Superman going to show up? He's busy fighting Bizarro. How is he going to get to Palestine?
Yeah, like Superman, you gotta get to Palestine.
When that green box went over the kid, I was like, yes,
It's like hell yeah.
fucking lantern.
And they play it for the most, like they know what they're doing. They play it for the most, like, you know, like the kid's about to get killed, and you're like, this is gonna fucking suck. And then the thing goes around him, and you're like, yeah.
And the Mr. Terrific fight scene, which was great, and it reminded me. A lot of people are bringing up the fight scene in God, fuck, I can't remember. But I thought of the fight scene in the Suicide Squad where they're rotating around Peacemaker's helmet, and you see the fight in the reflection. I like that they rotate around Lois's face of like amazement and shock as Terrific is just taking out all these goons. That was a really great scene.
I don't know. I know that you don't particularly like that they had the whole thing going on behind them where they're fighting the space imp or whatever. But I don't know. It just took me back so nicely to like the fight against Starro.
Yeah, no, I like that visual. I just wish it wasn't as prominent in that scene. It could be in the beginning.
I get that.
But that's also it's 2025 versus 1977 or whatever the Donner one came out.
I mean, you could still have. I mean, Andor did a whole show that's very earnest, and they didn't. There was humor in it, but they didn't undercut serious moments with humor.
Send a letter to the editor. Fine, let's get next. Supergirl is Brat.
Yes.
Yes, she is.
I just want to see like they're like, Supergirl, you gotta save those people, and she's like, sorry, there's a red sun here, and I can't. And once the red sun is out, the guns are out. Like,
I'm very excited that's going to be your storyline because that's one of my favorite Supergirl stories. So that's very cool.
And replacing the villain of that story with Lobo, I think, is a good call for them.
That's also a better casting for Jason Momoa, aka
when I was Aquaman, he literally wanted to be Lobo too, like from the beginning.
Yeah,
he looks like him.
Zack Snyder was like, nah, Aquaman.
Yo, I crazy to have multiple Aquaman movies. It's like the least like The Boys did the best kind of Aquaman where he's just like he just gets Me Too'd because it's like
right, yeah, he's because of the octopus. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. What was the character from Entourage was going to be Aquaman, right? Is that
Oh yeah. The main character that was his big get.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot that show existed, but Vincent Chase. Vincent Chase.
People always talk about it. I've seen it, but like people always talk about it more than I feel like
my friends were very into it, and I did not like it.
Yeah, I mean it's an acquired taste. A funny, touching, inventive, and thrilling documentary about a man named Superman who is real and strong and my friend.
Yes,
he is.
I really liked the punk rock thing, which I didn't say earlier because we all got like distracted. As like a Superman is just supposed to be uncool, like earnest, easy, and uncool, and like his fixation on like, oh, I love punk rock, and then he lists off like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, but like,
it's the cheesiest bands you've ever heard.
Lois is giving him shit for it, but he's like, you know what? But I'm earnest in my like of this music.
He's like, maybe kindness is the real punk rock, and it's like I love that line, but it's like it's such like a corny guy thing to say. Like maybe
it is.
Kindness is the real hip hop.
Yeah,
it works on a few levels though, and that's strong writing. And I say that as someone that, like I said, like missed me with that last needle drop. And I was like, wow, that almost ruined the movie for me.
And in regards to this line here, Superman is real. In South Park and Imagination Land, the lesson of that episode arc is just because something is imaginary doesn't mean it isn't real. Superman affects how you, if it's Superman or Jesus Christ, affects how you live on this planet, and it makes you be kinder to people. It gives you more empathy. It inspires you to do good, to volunteer. That has more real impact than some of the real people that you interact with day to day.
Absolutely. Agreed.
He is real, but he's not Israel. It's not.
He's Jesus.
Fantastic. Move on. Snyder cult in shambles right now.
I mean, if I didn't every time I saw that.
And again, Zack Snyder has denounced the racism of those people, and I love.
I hate the. I saw just that scene because I haven't watched Rick and Morty in a while, even though like I used to watch it constantly. But they had the scene with James Gunn and Zack Snyder where they're like in the thing, and James Gunn's like, "Hello, Zack Snyder," and he's like, "Hello, James Gunn," and it's like Man, since the Rick and Morty guy got fucking Me Too, it's like this show's been terrible.
No, I'm enjoying the new season. Me and my fiance are watching it week to week.
All right, maybe I got to start watching it again.
I got to close this bit out, by the way, everybody. So, yeah. Those are Letterboxd one-liners for Superman 2025. Please follow the show on our Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra, covering all of the great movies that we cover on this weekly podcast, as well as many more attendant short-form content, link stuff, things along those lines. Follow us on the popular Letterboxd forum format on there. The Ice Pocket Universe, at Always Flacco over there. Your host, Forrest Miller. He's logging all the stuff on this show and far more at Always Flacco on Letterboxd. I am Guy Gardner's bowl cut at Conan Neutron. And I am doing the highbrow, the midbrow, the Populous Fair. Follow me along for the Criterion Challenge. Totally on par right now. Gotta say that. On par for the Criterion Challenge. Follow me along for that and so much more. Hashtag good guy with a gun, 2 N's. Kristina Oakes down there. Adam, Kristina on Letterboxd, logging stuff more and more these days. Alex, I have no idea if you have a Letterboxd account or not. This is not social pressure. Okay, that's fine. Let's hit it with the plugs, please.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
Yes, John Fine of We Contain Multitudes and Bitch Magnet, real name for a band, people. Also author of the Your Band Sucks book, which is great. And that is coming up tomorrow. The Ryan Christopher Parks B. Hamilton episode is up in the general feed. And the Cheer Accident episode is up for patrons as well. We have a bunch of really cool stuff coming up, not the least of which is stuff I can't say because I just remembered how to reschedule. I don't remember what the day is. But patreon.com/Protonic Reversal, $1 a month for advance access to all that. Always free. ProtonicReversal.com. For the archives, get it wherever you get your podcasts. My band, Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. We are playing with the Jesus Lizard in November in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at Turner Hall Ballroom. Just advance tickets up for that. We have a tour for that that's going to be Atlanta, Birmingham, New Orleans, Austin, Denton, Wichita, Dubuque. And then we also have a tour at the Rat City Recon in Seattle, which is going to be in October, which is more Mountain West and things along those lines. We're doing Eugene, Portland as well. And neutronfriends.bandcamp.com for With Neutron, the new record. You can purchase that there. Direct support is always the best. You can also get it on all the streaming platforms that really don't make us any money at all. New merch items coming up soon. 2 new videos coming out in the next 6 weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Of course, if you pay attention to this show, you'll hear about it probably before it's even ready. But that's what's happening there. Kristina, what do you got?
Yeah, well, I did my Christina's Corner, and then I hung out with Alex right afterwards to do our non-spoiler Superman review. And from the comments to this stream, a lot of people were kind of like, wow, there wasn't that too many spoilers. I'm like, we did it. But still streaming on Twitch. I was on Power Report last week with Dan, Bam, and C's. And we're still doing Shadow Saturday. We are at the point where Barnabas is possessed by some satanic cult. And yeah, a lot of weird shit's going on. And I'm like, this is the part of the soap operas where they just throw a random storyline because they have nowhere else to go.
Nice.
So yeah.
Hi, my name is Alex. I have a channel called Devil's Advocate Productions on YouTube and Twitch. On Twitch, I stream. I try to do it at least once a week. I'm trying to do it more often. Played the new Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remake. Very happy with that game. On my channel, I have a Superman review. I review movies, music, TV, video games. I do trailer reactions to video games and movies. I have an album. Speaking of music, there's a new band called Dury, came out a couple years ago, and their second album just came out, and I reviewed it on my channel. I reacted to it and reviewed it on my channel. I'm going to see them in November because I loved it that much. Nice. I have a bunch of Kendrick reactions. Got into Kendrick Lamar this past year because of events. Went to see him at MetLife Stadium. I have a little my experience at MetLife seeing Kendrick Lamar video on my channel. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky at Devil's Advocate C. And yeah, I'm on this space. And me and Kristina, yeah, like she said, we did a non-spoiler review of Superman. Last week we played a video game. Anything can happen on this space, folks. Anything.
Which we are currently on right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is very spoiler laden.
Me on.
Just so you know.
Spoiler warning at the end. I love it.
We always do. It's like, look, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie yet, I don't know what you're doing.
Thank you guys so much.
It's like you have
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like you have like a trigger warning at the end. You're like, oh man, I should have said trigger warning.
You want to kick us off with final thoughts there, Alex?
Go see Superman, folks. Get this movie. Go see it again. If you've already seen it, go see it again. I want this movie breaking box office records. I want more fucking DC movies. I want more shows. Not Peter Safran. Fucking David Zaslav said we are full steam ahead with the 10-year plan. I want a 20-year plan. I want every character on screen. I want DC.
A Green Lantern ring on every finger.
A Green Lantern, like the cover of Emerald Twilight. Let's fucking go.
Yo, Alex, what do you think of Jaws?
Nice.
You're Jaws. You're a Jaws fan?
Love Jaws.
Want to come on in 2 weeks to talk
Shark
about
agnostic.
Jaws?
Absolutely.
Let's
All right.
I'll watch all
right.
of it.
On two.
Yeah, no. There's only one. They only made the one. They only made the one movie.
Yeah, there's
actually.
one Jaws. One.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about 3D. What are you talking about?
I used to watch Jaws every summer and scare the shit out of myself because we had it when I was up in Maine. Well, because we were on the ocean in Maine, and we had like my grandpa's house in Maine up until COVID, and my dad was like selling it. And 2 weeks after I left for the last time, the first ever shark attack happened, literally where I was 2 weeks before on the cove. The first great white attack that ever happened, and it ripped a woman in half. And I was like, I knew as a kid I should have been scared every summer going into the ocean. I
was right.
Can I just? I'm gonna Chekhov's gun that the third song on the Way of the Neutron is called "Sharks Keep Moving," and we're doing Jaws in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah,
I've been to Maine for the first time for a friend's wedding,
apparently,
and I understood why Stephen King wrote horror.
Yeah,
when I was in Maine. It is so creepy and empty.
It is parts of it, especially like you could drive so far in Maine and not see like
it was so fucking. We had to drive for 11 hours to get up there,
and I haven't even been to like the Arcadia part, where it's desolate up there. But Kristina, final thoughts.
I've been waiting for this movie since James Gunn announced it, and I knew from the beginning to trust him, trust the process. He knows what he's doing. All the doubters, I don't understand, y'all. He did the damn thing. This is a Superman that we can look up to, have hope, and dreams. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of the DC universe. I'm gonna be 42 in 10 years, so that should be interesting. But bring back Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. That's all.
Peacemaker season 2 trailer reaction on my channel.
Doubt James Gunn. No, I don't. Doubt James Gunn. No, I don't.
Conan?
Very good.
Conan, final thoughts and my Nirvana
On your Nirvana impression, B minus. All right. Generationally, we have not gotten a movie where Superman is just a good person, like the best of us, without being strictly one of us. So that's very key to understanding the character. As mentioned, as a younger man, I sneered at his cheesiness and nearly naive viewpoint. Far preferring the beating up dudes in the street billionaire Batman. But I've come to realize as an adult that's anything but naive, and it's the best kind of bravery that there is. And Clark Kal-El, he can do anything he wants, and he chooses to do good, and it's all summed up.
I got so edgelordy at one point as a kid. I was like, nah, even Batman's too cheesy. Spawn. He went to hell and came back.
He's gritty. He's gritty and dark. See, Deadpool and Wolverine for that. But your choices, your actions, that's what makes you who you are. Great. That sums up everything you need to know about this very great nurture versus nature story. It's so many storytellers have missed the mark with the intrinsic part of the character of him being fundamentally good. He's not like, in this case, we have a self-serious Superman in a terminally online, vulgar, and react culture, online dominated world. And he's dealing with the challenges, but not defined by them. And I think we become so culturally poisoned to think of the powerful super entity as the least of us, like the Homelander, the dark, gritty, borderline anti-hero. And I think that you see this guy like rescuing a squirrel that's going to get trampled by a monster. That's amazing. A monster that he wants to find a non-lethal solution for. And we don't need to see the umpteenth version of Superman's origin story. We don't need to know how he learned to be Clark Kent, or people don't recognize him without his glasses. It's all dispatched very quickly and elegantly. And it's thrilling to see this character get the big screen treatment he deserves, and with all the prerequisite darkly comic love that Gunn brings. And at the heart of it, as I said, we have the son of Ma and Pa Kent doing good. So this is not just a good... Not just a good movie, but an important movie. That's the thing. We all need Superman in our lives, and we all need to find the Superman in ourselves.
And I love that even Lex he wants to save. He's like, I'm disappointed that you're not using your humanity to do good. You could do so much good, Lex.
Yes. Good God.
Coming up next week, The Life of Chuck, one of my favorite movies of the year. Stephen King penned and Mike Flanagan directed, and not like any other Mike Flanagan movie you've seen. And our friend Zach Marsh is going to be joining us for that one. Should be a good one.
Yeah.
Then after that, of course, we
got a couple weeks to work on that.
Yeah, we're gonna really workshop this. Alex, thanks so much. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you guys so much. For having me.
And we're gonna do an after party after this, we should say.
You're welcome to come around the after party if you want. And thank you all the space listeners and viewers. Make sure to like and subscribe.
On to after party, which I thought I made, but then it isn't showing up, so I gotta get off.
If you want to come hang out with us, spacers, go over to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel.
If you're like, this is way too orderly and on topic, boy, do we have the show for you.
I will be watching in the background as I eat dinner.
All right.
Thank you so much for watching.
We had a good time, and